Hello and welcome. I'm Constellation Gaming and this is Decklist December, where I'll be going through every single day inside of December and providing a deck list, whether it's something more fun or geared towards competitive, might build it my own, might not. Today, with the tournament coming up tomorrow, I figured it would be a good idea to take a look at sunseed Jess's previous winning list. Before I start, congratulations on Jess on their win on the first. And figured I could break down the deck, what changes I think might be made since the limited and restricted list kind of hit a decent amount of cards within this deck, and um, whether or not I think this deck is still viable. Unfortunately, tomorrow I won't be able to be competing. I have uh, other obligations, but I figured I could still run through, show people what might be played, since I have been on the competitive end and I have been relatively successful. I haven't won, but I've top 8'd multiple times, and I top 16'd the last one. I bubbled out just due to tiebreakers. But anyway, we're gonna get into it. So first is 3 copies of Aster Rabbit. Aster Rabbit is the just most impactful Illustral in the game. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add one of them to your hand, shuffle the rest into your deck. Just extremely strong, and that's every single time it receives a Thunder enchant, so it's not just on play. And with the 5 body, it's extremely hard to get over. Next, Jess was running 3 copies of Elichick. Whenever you normal cast Elichick, search your deck for a Divine Rune, add it to your hand. This was limited to a single copy that's allowed in decks. I think the single copy will still be ran in decks. Plucky is an alternative that people might use, but I really don't think so due to the fact that one strength is not really enough to make its ability worth running. I think you're just going to run uh, other stuff in its place. So Elichick, obviously, it's going to go down to 1 this time. Jolton. Jolton says when you normal cast Jolton, you can search your deck for a Stadium Rune, add it to your hand. There Jess was playing the Mount Olympus and the Race to the Top package. So if they saw Jolton, they would add Mount Olympus to hand, and then that would activate Race to the Top, which says Race to the Top can only be cast if Olympus is enchanted. Target 2 Elestrals and destroy the Elestral with the least defense. If you have the Stadium benefit in your favor, more than likely you're going to be able to easily destroy something. Plus, Rabbit has one of the highest defenses in the game, and also Galaxy. Technically, you can play Galaxy, play Mount Olympus, and Race to the Top as a removal spell, even though Galaxy isn't Thunder Enchanted, it can still work due to the fact that it has 5 defense. Next, Jess was running 3 Viscerus. This card was also semi-limited. There's only 2 allowed. Uh, Definitely just going to run the 2, only cut out 1 copy. They'll find something else to slot in for the third one, but Viserys will be staying in the deck, in this type of deck at least for sure. There's no reason not to run it. It's still extremely strong even at 2. Viserys says it gets +1 attack for each Viserys on the field. When Viserys destroys an Elestral in battle, you can special cast another Viserys from your hand or deck in defense position. So you get 2 summons for the price of 1 as long as you get to destroy an Elestral, plus that second summon will buff up your first summon. So it's extremely hard to come back from if you're able to protect both of them for a single turn. It's just devastating and pretty much game over. Equal Links, this card was limited to 1, just because it is stupidly strong. In my opinion, it needed to be flat out banned. If Spark It was banned, there's zero reason that Equal Links is not banned. If Equal Link stays limited to 1, I think you need to bring Spark It back at 1. That's just my opinion. Um, Equal Link says you can Nexus up to 2 Earth. When you do, target and destroy a rune. And the reason why I think that Equal Links needs to be just fully banned is because even if it's 1 copy, you still have to play a certain manner in order to play around the Equal Links. There's nothing that you can really do except for set 1 back row specifically, and that's it. Until you know that single Equal Links is taken care of, then you can actually start setting back row and playing the game. Uh, Next, they're running 2 Eddy. Eddy is just extremely strong, gets through every single counter rune in the game except for Gorgon's Gaze. Eddy says when you normal cast Eddy, change the position of an Celestial. The second part of its ability really isn't relevant, but when you cast Rock in a Hard Place, specialists send Eddy into Kerberos. I don't believe they're playing Kerberos, and yeah, they're not playing Kerberos anywhere in the deck, so that part really isn't relevant. The only part that Jess cared about was the position change. Next, they're running 2 Galaxy? I thought they were running 3. I guess they were running 2. I don't know. I just copy and pasted the list pretty much. So, 2 Galaxy. Galaxy is just another Celestial that the only counter rune in the game that hits it really is Gorgon's Gaze. So that's why it's ran, and it also counters other galaxies because Galaxy will re-swap Galaxy's position. So if Galaxy is on the board, you can cast your own Galaxy and then possibly attack over with something like a Jolton, and then you would have your 5 attack Galaxy that you could swing over because then after their Galaxy leaves the battlefield, your Galaxy would revert its stats again. Galaxy is a very confusing card if you don't like learn all of its ins and outs. It can be a very, very confusing and straight up game losing card if you don't know the rules of the game of Galaxy and how it interacts with stuff. So we've already went over the Mount Olympus and the race to the top. No reason to go over it again. 2 Demeter, this is also another card that was limited. Uh, Demeter was played mainly, well not mainly, but a large part of it was due to the fact of equal links and nexusing the two. And so they could constantly destroy a rune. But the second part of equaling or Demeter is also very relevant, or the fact that you can disenchant a Earth from it and give an Celestial +3/+3 until the end phase is really strong. But it's not nearly as strong as say Zeus. So what I think is going to happen is they'll run one Elichick and then they'll run one Demeter, one Zeus, and that will be kind of it because you don't need 2 Demeter if you're only running one Equal Links, but you do need a Demeter if you're going to run Equal Links. Next, Earthquake, because there's a very limited amount of removal, so you got to play the removal you can. Um, no real reason to get into it. Ambrosia heals 3 in this game. Healing just gives you the ability to play the game. So that's why everybody runs 3 of all the time. Gorgon's Gaze, just a 2 cost, says no to everything. Target Celestial, if its effect is on the chain negated until end phase, it is suppressed and cannot receive, excuse me, enchantments, attack, nexus, or ascent. So pretty much says no to everything an Celestial can do. Poison Tipped Arrow, -2 attack, and then at the end phase you can expend it due to its original cost of the Celestial and kill it. Yeah, just like I said with Earthquake, removal is very limited. That's why even though they weren't fully on Earth or fully on Thunder, they still ran the Race to the Top package because removal is so limited. So rather than just having the 5, they had 7, which actually makes a pretty big difference. 3 Shield of Achilles, pay 1, and then the original cost of an Celestial to bounce it back on an attack. Yeah, just extremely strong at protecting your Celestials. Like I said, if you can protect Viscerus for a turn, it can go off, or protecting Equal Links literally just wins you the game if you're able to, because they literally can't play back row, and that's kind of the name of the game right now. So yeah, protecting Equal Links just means winning the game, so as much cards to protect Equal Links as possible is what's red. Altar Stars, Nexus, and if you do, you can change the position of an Celestial. Really good in the Earth deck just due to the fact that you're going to have a lot of spirits, and with the Mount Olympus, you might not necessarily need it after you've used your Race to the Top, so you can always alter that extra spirit off of it. Even though it's not Earth, it still will work, and it's still going to do the same thing. Then, the final copy, Resting on Your Laurels, if you're down to destroy the Celestial with the least enchanting spirits. Just best comeback tool in the game. In my opinion, this should have stayed at 3. just due to the fact that now we kind of have a very hard time coming back in this game once somebody gets a lead. And that was kind of like one of the few and best comeback tools in the game. Spirit deck, they were running. Oop, shoot, shoot. There we go. Sorry about that. They're running 8 Turretless, 4 Leviathan, and 8 Zaptor. Uh, yeah, pretty decent mix of both. Explains it to Earthquake, the Viserys, the Demeter, you gotta have multiple, and for the equal links. So that makes sense. Playing fully Forest, probably in case they're playing against a Thunder matchup, they could swap the Mount Olympus Race to the Top package out, or honestly just the Mount Olympus out. Keep the Race to the Top in so they could use their Mount, or yeah, use their Mount Olympus against them, then shut it off with their fully. 2 Tsunami, because Tsunami is extremely strong. I like to run Tsunami in the main deck, but they ran it in the sideboard and they won, so I mean, I guess I got a little something to learn on that part. It just nullifies an entire attack phase if they're not water enchanted. 2 Thunderstorm, I felt weird about this, but once I heard the reasoning, it makes sense. It's the fact that because against Earth, you only want to set one. So if you play Thunderstorm and then play like a Viserys or something, apparently you just pretty much win the game on the spot because they're forced to just constantly set one. Playing the Thunderstorm to pop that one before you play anything can essentially win you the game on the spot. 2 Cryoblast because removal is limited and it hits a good chunk of anything, especially in this type of mirror match. See, it kills Elichick, Jolton, Viserys. Eddie doesn't kill either of these two, but it still does a decent amount. Also, thing to note with Galaxy is if it has its stats swapped and you Cryoblast it, it'll become a 3-2, not a 5-0, so it doesn't kill Galaxy even after the stats are swapped, which is a weird interaction. But it can be good to note that because if you just decrease its attack, you can, well, quote, defense, you can attack over it because the stats will swap and it'll be a 3-2. So next, they're running 3 Quackle. Quackle is just Ambrose on a body, and kind of talked about why Ambrose was really good. Quackle's good for that same reason. Arcolith can just surprise steal games, especially since they have it in the sideboard. If they don't see that you're on Arcolith, they won't play around it, so then you can side it in and just one-shot kill them in the end game. 1 Jolton, probably in case they feel like they had a stadium war going on and they had to win it. And 1 Flare. So now I'll go over what I think they will do different now that the bans and restrictions happened. So real quick, easy. 2 Elichick come out, Jolton come in. 1 of the Jolton comes in. Viserys comes out, 2 Equal Links comes out. Put Eddie Galaxy back in. What else would you run here? Probably just throw Toxion back in here. So you're probably playing still a mixture of Earth. You might run some Rummagem to search out your equal links, make that more of a consistency piece. Instead of like 3 equal links, have 1 Rummagem, 1 equal links. Or have 2 Rummagem, 1 equal links. So that way you can also find your Viserys and she'll be down 1 more. Like I said earlier, the Demeter is just going to go to 1 Zeus. And Race to the Top, I'm not really sure if they'll run the Race to the Top package since you can only run 1. I think Cryoblast will come in here more or less. They'll probably still run Race to the Top due to if they're running this deck and they want to go towards more of the Thunder route than anything, because Mount Olympus will power it up. Even if you only see 1 Race to the Top, it still can be a very impactful card, and since you want to run Mount Olympus and Thunder anyways, they'll probably still run 1, and then the sideboarded Cryoblast will probably come in, and I assume another Cryoblast will go on the sideboard there. That's kind of all the changes that I would really make to this deck. But if you like this type of deck where I go over previous tournament winners or just somebody else's deck list from a tournament run, let me know in the comments. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, And I will see you tomorrow for another deck list. Thank you very much, and have a good one.